Hi everyone. In lieu of having our normal banquet, COVID has put us in a situation to have this kind of a banquet. And we're just going to celebrate, in this particular portion, the varsity team for the most part, through the things that I'd like to show you and present with you this evening. I want to thank first and foremost, and I hope all the players do too, our booster club, which is made up of all your wonderful parents that are committed to the success of our program and work tirelessly to make my life and the life of these coaches really easy. We pretty much get to show up and coach, and if we need anything, they provide it for us, and they're always looking to provide those things for us. So yeah, I want to thank all of you for showing up for this and watching this online, and here we go. This team's done a great job, did a great job all season of overcoming adversity, getting to a record of 15-11 by the end of it, missing 2 starters for 10 games before Christmas, and one of those starters never came back to play, and we look forward to getting her back. But that's just a credit to everybody else. Getting to the Sweet 16 is amazing. It's not a simple thing. And, you know, I'm 100% sure that if we don't play Cherry Creek or Grandview in the Sweet 16, we are playing in the Grade 8. And credit to you guys, you established our MORE mantra, M-O-R-E, and I think that's going to continue and even grow because of the work you guys did. You know, you guys look so darn tough with your hair straightener attitude in that poster that I decided I might do the whole rest of the banquet with my hair straightener gig going thanks to COVID. What do you think, everybody? First of all, the film crew voted on the hair straightener thing, and I lost that one. So the other thing is they wondered, you know, why I don't coach in ties. And so how does this look? Maybe this explains a little bit of it. Maybe it's a color issue. Let's look at a different color. Is that any better? I mean, come on, what are we talking about here? You know. And here's another reason. I'm sitting here. Okay, that's not going to work. Let's try this. Maybe this is better. Yeah, that'd work. That wouldn't get in my way. Is that wearing a tie okay? Is that good enough? We always start off our banquets acknowledging the successes of our scholar athletes, and juniors and seniors are the people that can win these awards. I could read you the criteria for that, but you're also darn smart. I'll just let you read it. Wow, what an amazing ending to that story. I don't know if you've ever gotten this book or heard of it, but you should read this book. Surprising ending. You'll be amazed. Now that you've seen the criteria for our scholar athletes, here are the award recipients. And once again, since you're so impressively intelligent, I'm sure you can read all of these just fine. Before we go too far into our player recognition stuff, I want to recognize 2 people that were incredibly valuable to our program. Everybody contributes their role, and Camden Hall and Mackenzie McKelney did a fabulous job as managers for us, sending me practice stats and emails every day right after practice ended. I'd look at those when I got home from practice. They were fantastic film crew for our games, coming to away games after soccer practices and stuff, just really committed to what they were doing for our basketball program. So everybody should be very thankful for them. I think now is a great time for us to start talking about players. And let's talk first about our swing players. They're coming. Our three swing players this year were Ava Scorsia, Emma Pickett, and Ali Taliaferro. They all three did a fantastic job, and I just can't thank them enough for the work that they put in. They are going to be phenomenal basketball players, and they understand and embrace the Moore principle for their entire class. And so it's really awesome to have these three as people coming back. Our future's bright with these three. These are three awards that they've won on the JV level. Ava has most points with 122. Emma Pickett has most improved player, and Ali Taliaferro has most valuable player for the JV. These three players are going to be cornerstones for our program in the future. Thanks, girls. Let's move on to our next group of players, and we always do it in kind of ascending order to seniors. And so our sophomore group would be the next player group that I'd like to talk about. What a great group we have. I'll mention them collectively at the end of this, but let's start with Talia Simonson. Talia may have one of the purest shots on our team and in high school basketball. She's got a beautiful shot, and she's working and worked all year to get up to the speed of the game that the varsity level had for her. Now, being a sophomore on a 5A girls basketball team that gets to the Sweet 16, you're pretty good, and she is. And I look at Talia as somebody that's in what I would term the takeoff phase of her athleticism, that she's just ready to bust on the scene and just rock the whole state of Colorado. And so we're really excited about that. I know she wants to work. One of her goals is to work to become a lockdown defender, and boy, we couldn't be happier about that in Talia. So Talia, we love you, and thanks for all your work this year, and let's just keep rolling. The next sophomore I'd like to talk about is Maddie Malcolm. Man, can she shoot the ball. Maddie is an incredibly smart player. She gained a lot of physicality and acclimated to the physicality of play that was required on the 5A level in Colorado on the varsity level. And so she did a great job. I think that her perimeter shooting was great, but she started getting to the basket more and more. She struggled to finish for a while, but she really was aggressive and took on the physical aspect of driving to the basket and everything that goes with that. She shot 48% on threes for the season, 73% at the free throw line. I mean, the future is so bright for her, and she, like Talia, is just starting to scratch the surface of how great she can actually be. And so really looking forward to the next 2 years with Maddie Malcolm as well. Our next sophomore that we want to spend a little time talking about is Abby Morgan. Abby, great physicality. Abby just wants to be great and will knock down walls for you if you ask her to. She loves to box out. She really developed and settled into finishing her mid-range shots and finishing around the basket. And she is great defensively. So that is awesome. She knows she wants to work on adding and extending on her shot, getting it a little further away from the basket, and being able to, when she develops that ability to rip and go to the basket and use that speed and strength, she's going to be incredibly difficult to deal with. I feel sorry for whoever's defending her. And so, Abby Morgan, the future is great with you. The last sophomore that we'll talk about right now before moving on to the juniors is Sam Crisp. Sam already has the attention of just about every coach in our league, and most of them outside of our league that we have played against. Sam's size inside, her athleticism, her toughness. I mean, her toughness really came along this year. The difference between Sam as a varsity freshman and Sam the last 10 games of the year this year was night and day. And she is, again, I think she's really just scratching the surface, has a great perimeter shot, stretches the defense, being able to rip and go to the basket and hit pull-up jump shots. I mean, that's going to make her absolutely unstoppable. Defensively, led our team and was one of the leaders in the league in block shots. And so has incredible timing on her defensive side. Just does a great job, works her tail off, and it's really great to have her coming back next year as well.
What?
Moving on to our juniors, let's start with Katie Edwards. Katie started off just blazing, just played great early in the season, battling through a lot of knee pain, ended up having to have a corrective surgery on it, so we didn't have her after mid-December, but we missed her. We know that she creates problems, not just for us, but she creates problems for our opponents. And her length and speed, tenacity, she was a tough matchup. Even when she was injured and out, coaches would come up and we'd be talking before the game, and they'd want to make sure that she wasn't playing, that she wasn't healthy enough to be back on the court, because they were worried about her as a matchup. And so we missed getting to see as much of that as we could have this year, but we got a glimpse of it, and we can't wait to see the whole show. I am not at all worried about whether or not Katie Edwards is going to do the work to be that player next year. In the games that she played in, she was fourth on our team in scoring during that period of time, and we expect her, and I expect her, to just pick it up where she left off and go take care of business. So great future for us with Katie. Our last junior to talk about is Sam Shaw. Sam is an incredibly smart player, a smart person overall, but a smart player, great basketball IQ, became a perfect scoring guard. Really took playing great defense to heart, and during the season, I would say the last 8 to 10 games was literally a lockdown defender for us, could really play great defense. She shot 48% on threes the last 8 games of the year and was just locked in and felt very comfortable with her shot. Sam knows that she can be more, capital M-O-R-E, and she's somebody that'll do the work to get there. Just can't wait to see what she does in the future. She'll be on the ball a little bit more next year, but we got to have her shooting the ball because she's doing a great job. Did a great job with it this year, and we know she's going to do it next year. Thanks, Sam. So I can't tell you how excited we are as coaches, and I am particularly, about the 9 players that I just talked about. We have 6 returning varsity players, all of whom started sometime during the season. We have 3 swing players that are ready, they get it. And there's, if I had to go into battle today against somebody, even with lack of practice and all of that stuff, those 9 players, I'd be totally confident getting on the floor with those 9 players right now. I don't think there's a lot of coaches in the state that have that going for them, going from this year to next year, that confidence in those players coming back, or that number of experienced players and driven players. And so that younger group, I just want you to know that I think the sky's the limit, and if I were one of our opponents next year, I would be very, very concerned. Okay, now it's time to have some fun and talk about our seniors, and to talk about them collectively. What a great group and a diverse group. What wasn't diverse was their toughness and their tough-mindedness. They all shared that, and they all showed it in different ways on the floor. They were and are all leaders in their own way. Everybody has got their own kind of role within that group, and they did a great job of it. Like sisters in a family, they challenged and pushed and antagonized and loved and laughed hard at and with one another and their coaches. But come game time, our opponents knew, and they know that they found out how tough these players were, and that's what concerned almost everybody we played, and that's why they were great role models for all of our younger players that I just mentioned. This group really did a great job of just playing physical and hard all the time. A point that would go towards us in the Sweet 16 game, and we were down by 18 points or something at that point in time, and my wife was at the game, and she was watching the game. She said, if you didn't look at the score, you wouldn't know the score was that different, that we played so hard to the last second. Every possession mattered. I said that's because we have great leadership out of our seniors. And so now we can talk about you all individually here. First senior we want to talk about is Emma McCabe. Emma really stepped up defensively this year, adding even more physicality to her game. She was really physical against teams that may have had taller players than her, but she got in and battled and rebounded and played great position defense. Really hit some big shots around the basket, around the rim, and wasn't afraid to shoot the ball. Has a really nice shot. Took boxing out to a new level. Really enjoyed moving people around on the court. Just really loved the physicality of her play. She just did such an outstanding job. And so Coach Slaybaugh and I have tried to come up with little funny things that we remember about all of you. Coach Slaybaugh remembers an event where you're dribbling the ball up the floor and you jumped at half court to get ready to throw a pass that ended up not being open and just kind of took the ball in you and collapsed on the floor at half court. He thought that was pretty funny. It was stuck in his mind. What I think is funniest is you're probably shooting like less than 2% on half court shots during practice, and but you know, you might be like 2 out of 100 over the last 2 years, but it didn't keep you from shooting them. And we all rejoiced when you'd make them, and you always tried to make a bet in there. It was always double or nothing by the time you were down a couple $1 billion. And so I enjoyed that, and I'll miss that. And so good luck on the next level playing rugby in Washington. And we thank you so much for all the effort and energy you gave us, Emma. Thanks. Next senior I get to chat about is Marley Delaney. And Marley, this could go on forever and ever and ever. I really had to condense it. You third-year varsity letter winner, and just tenacity, just driven physically, very unselfish. Second on the team in rebounds, first on the team in charges taken. More on that later. Marley just has an incredible work ethic. Is tough to beat. Her work ethic is unbelievable. She's loud on the court, talking on defense all the time, getting in the right position, getting other players in the right position, and she's incredibly supportive and from the bench. And so Coach Slaybaugh's funny thing about Marley was how we all figured out and noticed that in transition defense, Marley would run the length of the floor with her hands up over her head, like trying to block the pass that's going to be 20 feet in the air. And we thought that was pretty funny. We tried to explain to her and said, you know, how many wide receivers in the NFL do you see running down the field with their hands over their head the whole time? They're not faster that way, so you shouldn't do that. But it was just a habit, and old habits die hard, and she just kept doing it the whole season, and it was really fun. We enjoyed that. Marley, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Love you. Anything you ever need, you let me know. And great job this year. Great job for your career at Arapahoe High School. Thank you. Our next senior is Jaden Staub, and I was going to try to do an imitation of the way Jaden rolls her eyes and kind of bats her eyes, eyelashes, while she talks to you and has conversations with you, but I didn't think I could do it very well, so I chose not to add that to the repertoire of things that I was going to do today. Jay is a great kid, great player, very bright player. Jay's toughness came from battling her own struggles on the court. Jay had always been, growing up, middle school, early years at Arapahoe, a phenomenal perimeter shooter. I went and did shooting workouts with her during mornings during the season. She just shot lights out, but really struggled in games. And I think it all goes back to her losing her junior year basically with a severely broken arm and just not being in that comfort zone that she needed to be in. She did shoot the free throw really, really well. Her free throws were fourth on the team at 70%. That's really good. But what she did was she picked it up on defense. She was frustrated over her lack of production of shooting her shot, and they just rattled out. But she would just amp it up and play tougher on defense, and that made us better as a team. She was third on the team in assists as well, and so she found other scorers because she was struggling. She didn't give up on it. She just battled through it. That's toughness. That's really what it is. That's grit, and that's Jay. The funny things about Jay, Coach Slaybaugh wanted me to mention the incredibly confused look on your face when we would explain something in a drill or something and you didn't quite understand it. He thought that was killer. He did everything he could not to bust up laughing when you would kind of look at him like you were totally confused. I thought it was hilarious conversations you and I had when you lost your keys to your car and your parents made you drive the beater for a while until they figured out what to do about getting your nicer car new set of electronic keys that were kind of expensive. And so I thought your explanation of that was hilarious. And so Jay, thanks for everything for 4 years and even beyond that with the club scene. And so good luck in everything you do in the future. Thanks, Jade. The next thing we want to talk about is Taryn Lennox. Taryn, her toughness came from understanding and fulfilling her role on the team. She was going from predominantly playing a 4-5 as a younger player, almost all of her career, to where we needed her to move out of that role and become more of a 2-3. And that's a big step. That's a difficult thing to do. And she did it and worked her tail off and kept working and working to improve her skills to be able to do that. She pushed her teammates. She supported her teammates. She has a really good basketball IQ. Loved being like on the bench for the C games and being part of that experience with them. And probably has a future as a coach. I really believe that. She understands the game really well, and she would be really great at that with her understanding and disposition. So, Taryn, thanks a lot. The funny thing that Coach Slaybaugh and I both agreed on was you fired up a couple of threes during the season at different times against different opponents, and you didn't think they were going in when you let it go, and they went in. And the amazed and astonished look on your face when you looked at the bench in kind of shock and awe was really priceless. And so, Taryn, thanks for everything for 4 years. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Next player I need to talk about and want to talk about is, you guessed it, Kathleen Wortman, the boot. Kathleen simply said, made everybody else on the floor more intense, more tenacious, more aggressive. The only reason Kathleen isn't in the top in statistical categories is because she missed 10 games. On top of that, she missed all of summer for the most part. She played a couple games in Gold Crown, that was it. And then came out and just never let it shake her and just got to work and could hardly wait to get on the floor. Was always second guessing the doctor's decision to put her in a boot and keep her off the floor. Even with that being said, she was third in steals on the team and sixth in rebounds, and not the tallest player on the team. Kathleen, when she was healthy and back with us, was a lockdown defender, usually drew the assignment of the team's most aggressive scoring guard and did a great job of that. We get to the Sweet 16 because of her defensive play. In terms of funny things about Kathleen, and Coach Slaybaugh and I kind of in a different way agreed with this. He enjoyed how much teasing he got to do with you on your free throws and layups, and he said it was just a blast to watch you and how you reacted and dealt with it. I actually had written down without talking to him that Maggie beat you on senior year free throws. She shot him, this is not great, but she shot him at 53%, and you shot him at 49 your senior year. And so that's actually, in retrospect, kind of funny for us to talk about the free throw shooting Wortmans. The other thing I think is hilarious, and Coach Labow didn't mention it, but he's the instigator of this, that Kathleen had a propensity to leave that pink water bottle in the gym about every other day. And so Coach Labow just made it his deal that whenever she left it there, he would just go get a roll of tape from the training room and completely tape that metal jug up and then tape it to something in our closet. And she'd come in the next day and have to take all the tape off of it, but it wouldn't keep her from leaving it. And so we thought that was great. Kathleen, it's been a pleasure and an honor to coach you, and I love the tenacity you bring to everything you do. Good luck in the future. Thanks. Least but not last is Kaylee March. I say least because she's the shortest of the people I've talked about, and that's the only thing that's small about her. I want to point out that she and Kathleen were our senior captains and great leaders for this group of players. Kaylee, toughness, tenacity, skill, aggressiveness, commitment, basketball IQ, the whole package. You're going to see in the awards here that I give later, and I'll repeat this stuff again, but second in scoring, second in career scoring in the last decade, first in three-point makes, first in free throw percentage, tied with Sam Crisp, third in rebounds for the shortest player on the court most of the time. That's pretty impressive and tenacious. First in assists and steals. And so this, for all of you younger players, is what not only a point guard is and does, but what a basketball player is and does, what a competitor is and does. She hated losing. She hates losing, and she'll carry that on. Even in any competitive drill that we did, team or individual, in practice over the last 4 years, she did not want to lose, and she fought hard not to. Coach Slaybaugh's funniest moment, the look she would give him when he would tell her something she didn't like. He thought that was pretty funny and yeah, original. I, on the other hand, out of the 10,000, it seemed like 10,000 disagreements that she and Marley would have and butt heads on for, and some of it, just the most ridiculous things. But one, we've done this shooting drill a number of times over the course of 3 weeks. It was new when we inserted, but we were 3 weeks into it. Everybody knew it. We were getting lots of shots up. And all of a sudden, one of the two of them did not rotate correctly. And they had this huge argument that almost had to be settled by one of the coaches on a dumb shooting drill and the rotation in it. And so I thought that's one that sticks out in my mind. Kaylee, good luck at Cornell College. I think they got a steal of a deal for somebody of your ability and skill. You're going to set that world on its head. And so thank you for being the coach on the floor. And I think over the last 2 years in particular, you learned our communications, how important your communications and mine was for everybody else on the floor. And I will miss you and look forward to following you at Cornell College. Thanks, Kaylee. Typically at a normal banquet, at this point, we would call up individual athletes and give them their awards, their plaques for their individual honors. And so we'll announce those and show you those awards, and then I'll get them to those players as soon as I can. I want to start with Sam Crisp, who has most points, 317, most rebounds, 211, most blocks, 74. That is by far the most blocks in any 1 year in the last decade. The next one is Marley Delaney, who gets most career charges taken. And I'm 100% sure of this because in the last 10 years, she's way more than anybody else we've ever had around here. The next one is most improved. And the most improved player goes to Emma McCabe, and that's voted on by her peers. And so you're aware of that. The next two are for the same player. This is most assists, 68 by Kaylee March, and it should have most steals on there too. I'll get another plaque for that. And the last one is most valuable player, and that is for Kaylee March as well. And I totally agree with the team's choice on that because she was a catalyst to almost everything we did. So there you go, and that's kind of it in a nutshell. And you know, this COVID thing is kind of an interesting deal. I can tell you this, that filming and editing this is about 10 times longer than a banquet, and a banquet is usually really long. And so hopefully this comes out and you appreciate the effort that mostly Jed is going to put into this to get this done. I was going to try to dig up a quote for this ending, and I couldn't. And so I'm going to tell you this. It's hard for me to put into words very well how proud I am to be the coach of your team this last year. The blessing it is to coach you, all of you, and to come to work. If you love what you do, you never have a job, and that's where I'm at. It was really a blast, and seniors, we're going to really miss you guys, and juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, let's get ready to rock and roll. Take care, guys.